What is it, boy? Did you find him?
Hurry, check the area now.
Check the vehicle. Move!
Get the perimeter secure. He's got a scent. He's alerted. Check right there. Clear the perimeter. Move back now.
The last normal second in the Carter family's life. Honestly, it happened so fast you could blink and miss it. It was around 6:04 p.m., one of those stupidly beautiful fall evenings in Silver Ridge when everything feels soft and harmless. The sky glowing a warm orange fade, the air thick with pine and cold earth, and the whole town wrapped in a quiet that felt safe. And then it wasn't. Because that was the exact minute Emma Carter vanished. No scream, no rustling leaves, no bent blade of grass. Nothing. Just gone. Like the universe hit delete on a 7-year-old girl. Laura Carter only noticed something was wrong because the quiet shifted. You know that feeling when a room suddenly feels wrong even though nothing moved? That's what hit her. She'd been chopping carrots in the kitchen, humming some tune from the radio, not thinking about anything except dinner. Emma was in the backyard chasing a blue balloon. Laura remembered the laugh, the tiny footsteps, and then silence. But not normal silence. Heavy, thick, like the world sucked all the air out of itself and held it inside. "Emma?" she called out, casual at first. She wiped her hands on a towel, leaning toward the back door. "Sweetheart? Dinner's almost ready." Nothing. She tried again, louder. "Emma, come on in!" Still nothing. Her heartbeat started that weird double thump, tripping over itself. She stepped onto the porch, expecting to see Emma behind the maple tree, or crouched in the grass, playing with bugs like always. But the yard was empty. Too empty. The balloon was still there, pressed against the fence like it had nowhere to go. The air didn't move at all. Not even a hint of wind. The whole backyard looked frozen, like a photograph. "Emma?" Her voice cracked. She walked into the yard, fast at first, then running. "Emma, baby, answer me!" But it was useless. Her voice didn't echo. It didn't bounce off the trees like it normally did. It just faded. Like dead pine wilderness swallowed the sound before it had a chance to exist. And that's when panic hit her. Hard, sharp, violent. "No, no, no, no! Emma! Emma!" Laura screamed her daughter's name over and over, each time louder, more frantic, until her throat burned raw. Behind the shed, behind the grill, under the porch, along the fence line, her hands shaking so violently she scraped them on the wood. Nothing. She collapsed to the grass, knees buckling beneath her. "Oh, God! Emma! Where are you?" By the time Daniel Carter got home, she was still on her knees, still screaming, her voice torn down to something almost animal. "Laura?" He dropped his keys without noticing. "What happened?" Where's Emma? Laura turned to him with hollow eyes, terrified, empty, like her soul had been ripped straight out. I don't know. She was right here. She was right here. And that was it. The moment everything shattered. Daniel didn't hesitate. He sprinted toward Dead Pine Wilderness like the devil himself was chasing him. Emma! He roared, voice ripping through the trees. But something strange happened. His scream didn't echo. It hit the tree line and just stopped. Like the sound slammed into an invisible wall and died midair. Daniel froze, tried again, louder. Emma, answer me! Again, no echo, nothing. The forest took his voice and buried it. He yanked a flashlight from his belt, but the beam flickered, dimmed, and died. No, not now. Come on! He smacked it against his palm until the casing cracked. The world felt wrong, tilted, still. Laura reached him, breath broken. Daniel, she's gone. I can't find her. I swear I turned around for 1 second. One. He pulled her into his arms, holding her so tight she gasped. We're gonna find her, he whispered. We're gonna find her, Laura. I promise. But even he didn't sound like he believed it. Dead Pine Wilderness loomed behind them, its branches still as statues, its shadows deep and motionless. It didn't feel like a forest anymore. It felt like a mouth that swallowed something precious and refused to give it back. Laura sobbed into his chest. She didn't scream, Daniel. Why didn't she scream? Daniel couldn't answer. Every instinct in him, every father's instinct, was screaming something he didn't dare say aloud. Something took her. Something fast. Something silent. Something that didn't belong in this world. And Dead Pine Wilderness stood there, watching them, waiting. This was the night Emma Carter disappeared, and Silver Ridge would never be the same again. By the 4th night, honestly, the whole town of Silver Ridge looked like it hadn't slept in years. People were still searching, still calling Emma's name into the freezing dark. But nobody was pretending anymore, not even a little. The hope was barely breathing. Inside the Carter house, it felt worse. It felt like the walls were holding their breath. Sheriff Dalton stood in the living room, hat clutched in both hands like he was scared to drop it. His eyes kept drifting, floor, ceiling, floor, as if every version of the truth tasted wrong. Laura sat on the couch, shaking. Daniel stood behind her, hands on her shoulders, but his soul seemed somewhere far away. Sheriff, Daniel said, voice rough, just tell us, please. Dalton swallowed so hard you could hear it. Dan, Laura, listen, I don't want to say this. God knows I don't. But after 4 days out there, the chance of survival for a child is under 10%. It felt like the air was ripped out of the room. Laura didn't scream, didn't jump. She just folded, like someone punched straight through her spine. Her breath hitched. Her eyes rolled. She slid off the couch so fast Daniel barely caught her. Oh, God. Laura, hey. Breathe, baby, just breathe, he whispered. But she wasn't hearing him. Her breaths were short, ugly gasps, like her lungs forgot how to work. I can't, she choked, hands clawing at her chest. 10%? 10, oh God. No, no, no. Sheriff Dalton knelt beside her, but she pulled away as if his presence burned. Don't say that. Don't make it true. Her voice cracked in half. Then again, until it wasn't words anymore, just panic grinding into pain. Daniel lifted her into his arms, but his own face. Yeah, it was breaking apart. His jaw trembling, eyes glassy, like he was about to explode but didn't know which direction to explode in. Dalton whispered, "We're still searching. I swear to you, we haven't stopped." But it didn't matter. The sentence was already spoken. The air already poisoned. Laura covered her ears. Stop! Stop! Please stop! Don't tell me my baby is... She couldn't finish. She collapsed again, sobbing so hard her whole body shook. Daniel couldn't hold it in anymore. He staggered back, ran out the front door, and dropped to his knees in the yard. Then he just lost it. He slammed his fists into the ground, hard, over and over, dirt flying, blood starting to show, but he didn't stop. Couldn't stop. Why? Why would you say that? He screamed. She's 7! She's 7 years old! His voice ripped through the air, and then died instantly. No echo. Dead pine wilderness swallowed it whole. Inside the house, the lights flickered. Once, twice, like something was breathing inside the walls. Laura looked up, terrified. Dan, did you see that? Did you... Another flicker. Ranger, the neighbor's dog, barked once, low, sharp, then fell silent, staring toward the tree line like something moved there. But there was nothing they could see. Laura crawled toward the doorway, still sobbing, hands shaking so hard they left smudges on the hardwood. Emma, baby, I'm so sorry. Mommy's so sorry. Daniel dragged himself back inside, blood on his jeans, a hollow look in his eyes. He knelt beside her, lifting her gently. Hey, look at me, he whispered, voice shredded. We're not giving up. You hear me? I don't care what statistics say. I don't care what anyone says. We're not done. Laura nodded weakly. Her lips trembled. She's out there. She's cold. Daniel, I can feel it. I swear I can feel it. She's cold. Daniel closed his eyes, a tear slipping free before he could stop it. Dalton looked away. Because the rawness in the room felt like something you shouldn't witness, like walking in on someone bleeding. Look, he said softly. We're expanding the search at sunrise. More people, more dogs. We're not quitting on her. The lights flickered again, this time longer. Daniel frowned. Why is it doing that? We're not even using much power. Dalton swallowed. Storm's coming. Maybe the lines are... But he didn't sound convinced. Not even close. Laura whispered, "It's dead pine. It's the forest. It's angry. Or it's watching. I don't know. I don't know anymore." Daniel held her tighter. "Don't do that. Don't scare yourself more. Please, just breathe with me." But even he kept glancing at the windows, like he expected something to be standing there. The light steadied, but the tension didn't leave. Not even a little. It hung in the air like fog. The Carter house wasn't a home anymore. It was a tomb full of whispers and flickering lights, and a grief so heavy it pressed into the walls. And outside, somewhere in the vast black spine of dead pine wilderness, something listened, something waited. And Emma Carter was still gone. After the fourth night nearly crushed what was left of them, the morning should have brought quiet. A breath. A second where the world didn't feel like it was falling apart. Yeah. No, it brought something else. It started with this tiny sound. Tap. 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 Laura sat at the kitchen table, hunched over like her spine couldn't hold her anymore. Eyes swollen, hands shaking around a mug she wasn't drinking from. Daniel stood in the doorway, staring at nothing, like maybe he could will time to rewind 4 days. Tap. Tap. Laura looked up. "Dan, did you hear?" He didn't react. He looked like a man underwater. Then the sound came again, sharpened, closer. Tap. That one snapped Daniel out of whatever dark pit he'd fallen into. What the hell? They both turned toward the front window and froze. A German shepherd stood there, black as shadow, still as stone. Eyes locked onto theirs like it had been waiting for them to notice. Laura's breath caught so hard she choked. Dan, is that?" He didn't answer. Couldn't. His jaw hung open just a little, like he wasn't sure the world was real anymore. The dog wasn't dirty, wasn't limping, wasn't panting. It was perfect. Like it had walked straight out of a dream or a nightmare. Hard to tell which. And those eyes, they didn't look like dog eyes. They looked bright, focused, almost too aware. The shepherd lifted one paw, slow, deliberate, and tapped the glass. Tap. Laura shot to her feet like someone yanked a string in her spine. "Oh my God, did you see that? Dan, it tapped. It literally..." Before she could finish, the dog's gaze shifted. Not random, not curious, purposeful. It turned its head toward dead pine wilderness, held the stare, 2 long seconds, then looked back at them. A chill ripped through Laura so sharply she had to grip the table to keep standing. Dan, it's trying to tell us something. Daniel stepped closer, slow, careful. like he was more afraid of the message than the animal itself. "What are you doing here, boy?" he whispered. "Where'd you come from?" The dog didn't blink, didn't flinch, just stared through the glass, eyes glowing faintly in the early morning light. Then it did something that made Laura gasp so loudly she startled herself. It stepped sideways, 2 steps, paused, like it wanted them to follow. Then it glanced back toward the woods, like a guide, a signal, a message. Laura covered her mouth. "He knows something, Dan. I swear he does." Daniel didn't dismiss her, not after everything. He just breathed hard, fighting between fear and hope. The dog exhaled, a sharp, impatient huff, then walked 3 steps toward the tree line, stopped, looked back, waited. Laura's heart slammed against her ribs. "Daniel, we have to go, we have to. I can feel it. Dan, please. Please don't tell me you don't feel that." He scrubbed a hand over his face, shaking. "Laura, I don't know what this is. I don't know if this is—" "It's hope," she whispered. "Just a little. Just enough. And I'm not ignoring it." The dog took 1 more step toward the woods, tail still, posture rigid, not threatening, guiding, inviting. Daniel finally exhaled, the sound of a man collapsing into a decision. Okay, fine. Get your coat." Laura ran to the hook, hands trembling so badly she dropped her jacket twice. Daniel grabbed the flashlight, the only one still working, though even he didn't look confident about it. They opened the front door. Cold air blasted their faces, sharp, biting, wrong for the hour. The dog didn't move. It just stared, like it had waited centuries for this moment. Laura crouched slightly, soft voice. "Hey, boy, are you trying to show us something? Is Emma—" Her voice cracked. She couldn't finish. The dog blinked once, slow, intentional, then turned toward Dead Pine and started walking. Not fast, not wandering, straight, focused, like it knew the path better than the ground itself. Daniel grabbed Laura's arm. "Stay close to me." She nodded, tears already falling. "Just don't let go of my hand." They followed the shepherd, Ranger, because honestly, the name fit him before they even knew it. Down the yard, toward the dark mouth of Dead Pine Wilderness. The sun touched the treetops, but the forest looked darker than night. Still. Too still. They reached the first line of pines. Ranger stopped, turned, waited like a soldier leading civilians into a war zone. Laura swallowed hard. Okay. If this is real, if this dog really knows something, then God, please don't let us be too late." Ranger slipped into the woods. No hesitation, no fear. Laura followed, Daniel right behind her. And just like that, hope punched through the darkness for the first time in days. If you were standing there, and a dog did this, what would you do? Follow it without thinking? Call someone first? Freeze because it's too weird? Something else? I'm genuinely curious, and honestly, the second they stepped after Ranger into those trees, everything from before, the shock, the hope, the confusion, yeah, all of it got swallowed by something bigger, something heavier, something that felt like it had teeth. Dead Pine Wilderness wasn't just quiet. It was wrong quiet. Like the world hit mute on purpose. Ranger moved ahead of them with this strange confidence. Not running. Not sniffing around like a normal dog. Just walking fast, checking every few steps to make sure they were still behind him. Like he'd done this before. Like guiding two terrified parents through a cursed forest was just another Tuesday. Laura's breath started shaking almost immediately. Dan, I can't hear anything. I mean nothing. Not birds, not wind, not... I know, Daniel whispered, his hand on her back, the other gripping the flashlight like he expected something to lunge out of the shadows. Just stay close. But close didn't even describe it. She was practically clinging to him, fingers hooked in his jacket, steps uneven, knees trembling like they might give out. Every time a leaf crunched under their shoes, they both flinched, because it was the only sound in the entire forest. Ranger glanced back, ears angled, then continued deeper and deeper and deeper. With every step, the air got heavier, thicker, like breathing felt wrong, like someone was pressing a hand over their mouths, not choking them, but making their lungs panic. Laura whispered, "Why does it feel like the air's disappearing?" Daniel didn't answer. He felt it too. Chest tight. Breaths shallow. Pulse pounding in his throat. It felt like Dead Pine was sucking the oxygen out of the path itself, like it didn't want them here. Then Ranger stopped. Just stopped. Laura bumped into Daniel's back. "Why'd he... Dan, what's he..." But Ranger didn't make a sound. Didn't bark. Didn't growl. He just stared at something on the ground. Daniel lifted the flashlight. Aimed. Laura's breath tore from her body in a sound that wasn't even human. "No! No, 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 no!" Her scream sliced through the trees, and the air itself seemed to flinch. There, half buried under pine needles, was a little blue hair clip. Emma's. The one she wore almost every day. The one she begged to wear to school because it makes me run faster, Mommy. Laura dropped to her knees so fast Daniel couldn't catch her. Her hands slammed the earth, clawing through the needles, grabbing the clip like the ground might steal it back. "Oh God! Oh my God! This is hers!" "Daniel, this is hers!" Her whole body folded over it, shaking so violently the clip trembled in her hands. Daniel lunged beside her. "Laura, hey, Laura, breathe! Look at me! No, don't!" She couldn't finish a sentence. Her words tore into jagged pieces. She was here. She was right here. Oh God! Oh God! She curled forward, forehead pressed into the dirt, sobbing so hard it sounded like her soul was ripping open. Daniel wrapped his arms around her from behind, holding her tight before she collapsed completely. Baby, I know. Just breathe. Please breathe. But he was shaking too, tears burning his eyes as he stared at the clip in her trembling hand. That means she came through here, he whispered, voice cracking. She walked here, Laura. She walked right here. Ranger sat beside them, silent, watchful, his ears up, not aggressive, but understanding, like he knew the weight of what they found, like he'd been waiting for them to see it. Laura clutched the clip to her chest and let out a wail, a horrible, breaking sound that echoed only for a heartbeat before the forest swallowed it whole. Dead Pine refused to let sound escape, like it didn't want anyone to hear their pain. Daniel rocked her, though his own body trembled. She's close, he whispered, again and again, like a prayer he couldn't quite believe. Laura, she's close. I can feel it. Laura gasped, voice cracking. Why would she be here alone? Why? I don't know, Daniel whispered. But Ranger does. He's been trying to show us. Ranger stood, tail stiff, eyes locked on a narrow path leading into darker trees. He took one step, stopped, looked back, inviting, telling, move. Daniel swallowed hard. He wants us to keep going. Laura wiped her face, hands shaking, tears still falling. Dan, what if we're too late? He cupped her face, forcing her to meet his eyes. We're not. Do you hear me? We're not. If she was here, she can still be somewhere we can reach. Laura clutched the clip until her knuckles whitened, then nodded. Broken, terrified, but determined. Okay, she whispered. Okay. Let's go. Daniel helped her to her feet. Ranger waited. The forest watched, and the Carters followed the only thing in Dead Pine that wasn't trying to hide from them. If finding Emma's blue hair clip felt like hope stabbing through their chests, then what happened next? Yeah, it was the moment hope started blending with something colder, sharper, like fear was wrapping fingers around its throat. Ranger moved ahead again, but slower this time. Careful, ears up, every step deliberate, like he knew they were getting close to something they were never meant to see. Dead Pine wilderness changed around them. Not the trees, not the branches, nothing dramatic. It was the air. The temperature dropped so suddenly Laura gasped. Dan, why is it so cold? It wasn't. 2 minutes ago, it wasn't like this. Daniel rubbed her arm. I don't know, maybe the He didn't finish, because fog slid across their feet. Not rolled, slid, like it crawled out from between the roots. Thin at first, ghostly strands curling around their ankles, then thicker, rising, wrapping, like hundreds of pale fingers dragging themselves up from the soil. Laura grabbed Daniel's sleeve. What is that? Why is it coming from the ground? I don't know, just stay with me. Ranger didn't back away. But he stiffened, tail low, hackles lifting slowly along his spine. He led them through the swirling white, and as the fog parted, a shadow formed ahead. A shape. A building. Laura blinked, thinking it was her mind doing tricks. But no, it was real. A cabin. Old as death. Half-rotted walls leaning inward like the whole structure was tired. Windows smashed decades ago. Roof sagging under moss and darkness. "Daniel," Laura whispered. "This wasn't on any map. Search teams would have—" "I know," he said, breath shaking. "But it's here. And honestly, it looked like it had been here forever." Ranger stepped onto the warped porch. The boards groaned under his weight. He stopped at the door, if you could call it a door. Hanging sideways on one hinge, creaking softly in a wind that didn't exist. Laura stared at the crooked opening, eyes filling with tears again. Emma, she could have... Dan. She could have been inside. Daniel cupped the back of her neck. "Let's check." Slowly. They entered. The cold hit instantly, like walking into a freezer. Dust coated everything. Thick layers on the floor, on the collapsed furniture, on the cracked shelves. It smelled like mold, wet wood, and something older, something metallic. Ranger froze halfway in, not growling, not whining, just waiting. Daniel swept the flashlight and Laura gasped. A sharp, strangled sound that tore right out of her. "Daniel, look, look!" Tiny footprints. Bare. Small. Perfect. A child's. In the dust. Laura fell to her knees, fingers trembling over one print like she was afraid to touch it, but needed to. When her fingertips brushed it, she yanked back as if burned. "Oh God! Dan! Dan! It's warm! I swear to God it's warm!" Daniel touched it too. His breath cracked open. "Laura, she was here. Recently. Hours ago." Tears flooded Laura's eyes as she pressed both hands to her mouth, sobbing into her palms. "My baby was here. She was right here." Daniel held her close, but he couldn't look away from the prints. They felt alive, like the forest was holding memories in its dust. Then, crack! A sharp sound behind them. Not the cabin settling, not a branch falling. A footstep. A deliberate footstep inside the cabin. Laura's body went rigid, breath stuck mid-sob. Daniel yanked her behind him. "Who's there?" His voice shook, but it was loud. Ranger spun toward the sound, tail rigid, muscles coiled, ready. Another sound, a slow shuffle, like someone dragging a foot across old wood. Laura whimpered, "Daniel, someone's in here. Someone." "I know. Stay behind me." His flashlight swept the far wall. Nothing. The corner. Nothing. The doorway behind them. Still empty. But the air had changed again. Heavy. Thick. Charged. Like something unseen was pressing against their skin. "I don't like this," Daniel whispered. "I don't like this at all." Ranger growled, low, rumbling, vibrating through the floorboards. Laura clutched Daniel's jacket. Dan, please tell me that's just an animal. It's not an animal, he whispered. Animals don't move like that. Another sound. Closer. A faint creak, like weight on a hidden step just beyond the doorway. Ranger stepped forward, placing himself between the noise and the Carters. His stance said everything he couldn't bark. You're not alone in here. Laura's teeth chattered from fear. Daniel, we need to get out. Now. He nodded, eyes locked on the darkness. On my count. Ranger lowered his body, ready to lunge, and the cabin seemed to breathe. Something was in dead pine with them. Something that had been watching Emma. Maybe watching them now. And just when the cabin already felt too crowded with shadows, with breathing walls, with footsteps that weren't theirs. Something inside shifted, like the dark wanted to show them its next secret. Daniel kept the flashlight pointed toward the corner where the sound came from. Nothing moved, not even dust. Ranger growled again, low, steady, then suddenly stopped. Not because the threat was gone, but because he sensed something else, something behind them. Laura turned slowly, wiping her tears with the back of her shaking hand. The flashlight beam slid across the wall and froze. Daniel, she whispered, her voice thinning to a trembling breath. Look. Look at that. Oh my God. Look. On the far wall, half hidden behind cobwebs, hung a framed photograph. Old, black and white, edges yellowed, curling with age. Daniel stepped closer. What the hell? The photo showed a man standing in front of this exact cabin. Same slanted porch, same crooked door, same suffocating trees behind him. But the faded print at the bottom. July 1941. Laura's stomach twisted. Dan, that can't be real. This picture is older than our parents. Ranger shifted nervously, muscles coiled tight, like even he didn't want to look at it. Daniel lifted the frame, sending a cloud of dust swirling. Who is this guy? The man in the photograph stared straight into the camera, posture rigid, hands behind his back, clothes old-fashioned, work-worn, almost military. But it was his face. God, his face mouse that made Laura's skin crawl. He wasn't smiling, but he wasn't not smiling either. Just that almost smirk people make when they know a secret they're not supposed to tell. Laura covered her mouth. Dan. His eyes. Daniel nodded. Yeah, I see it. Because the man's eyes didn't look faded like the rest of the photo. They looked alive, sharp, focused, like he could see them, like he was still watching. A cold wave crawled up Laura's neck. Daniel, who is he? Daniel brushed the signature at the bottom. Elias Moore. Laura blinked. A name she recognized, barely, but enough to let dread dig deeper. Wait. Moore. Like Silas Moore? Silas Moore, the quiet old man on the edge of town, the one who always warned kids not to wander into Dead Pine after dark, the one people whispered about but never understood. Daniel frowned at the photo. It might be his grandfather, or great-grandfather. Laura backed up, breathing too fast. Dan, why is he here? Why is this photo in this place? She bumped into a broken chair, the flashlight shaking in her hands. It doesn't make sense, Daniel muttered. Search teams didn't find this cabin because it's not on any map. But this man, he's standing here like it was his home. Laura felt dizzy, like the floor was tilting beneath her. What if people have been going missing long before Emma? What if this isn't just us? What if this is a cycle, like a... She couldn't finish, because suddenly the cabin shook, not a little. Not like wind hit it. It shuddered. A deep groaning vibration rolled through the floorboards, rattling the shattered windows, making dust fall from the ceiling in a thick gray curtain. Laura screamed, grabbing Daniel's arm. "What was that?" Daniel held her tight, eyes wide. I don't know, just get behind me." Crack! A beam above them split. Thump! Something slammed against the outside wall. Ranger barked, loud, sharp, urgent, then bolted toward the doorway, ears pinned back, tail rigid. Laura's voice broke. "He wants us to run, Daniel, he wants us out!" Another tremor ripped through the cabin. Dust poured down like rain. Walls groaned, bending inward. Ranger barked again and sprinted out the door, disappearing into the fog. Daniel grabbed Laura around the waist, pulling her with him. "Move, Laura, now!" She stumbled, clutching the photograph to her chest without even meaning to. "Dan, the footprints. What if—" "No time!" he shouted, dragging her across the creaking boards. "We're not dying in this place." They burst onto the porch, just as something heavy collapsed behind them with a deafening crack. The whole cabin sagged forward, coughing out dust and fog like it was alive. Laura gasped, choking on the cold air. "Daniel, what's happening? Why did it shake?" But even before he could answer, they both felt it. Whatever was in that cabin with them, it didn't want them to leave with what they just saw. And honestly, if the cabin shaking felt like Dead Pine warning them to get out, then the moment they stumbled back into the trees, hearts pounding, lungs burning, it felt like the forest wasn't done, not even close. Fog curled around their ankles. The cold bit deeper. The pines stood still and tall, like an audience waiting for the next part of the nightmare. Laura clutched Daniel's arm, gasping. "Where's Ranger? Dan, where?" But before he could answer, Ranger burst through the fog with a sharp, urgent bark. But he wasn't alone. A figure stepped out behind him, slowly, deliberately, not hiding, not threatening, just appearing, like the forest opened a door and let him through. Daniel shoved Laura behind him. "Hey, stop right there! Don't come closer!" The man lifted one hand, calmly, as if to say, "Easy. I'm not here to hurt you." He looked late 40s, broad shoulders, weather-worn jacket, boots smeared with pine soil, beard trimmed close but rough, a face serious but not cruel, and his eyes. Those eyes looked like someone who had seen too much of dead pine and survived anyway. Laura whispered, "Dan, I know him." Daniel didn't blink. "Who?" "Silas. Silas Moore." Daniel's grip tightened on her hand. "The old guy who lives near the ridge?" But Silas didn't look old. He looked carved from the forest itself, steady, grounded, unshakable. Ranger trotted to his side and sat, perfectly obedient. Daniel felt his stomach drop. You know this dog?" Silas brushed a rough hand over Ranger's head. "He's one of mine." Daniel shook, caught between anger and fear. "What does that mean? What are you doing out here? Why are you following us?" Silas didn't flinch, didn't tense. He simply stepped closer and said, "Emma is alive." Laura collapsed. Her knees just gave out. Daniel barely caught her. "Laura, hey, breathe, baby, breathe." But she wasn't breathing right. Just gasping, hands clamped over her mouth like she was trying to keep her soul from falling out. "Alive?" she whispered. "Silas, please, don't say that unless you—" "I'm certain," Silas said softly. "She's alive." The words hit Daniel like a fist to the chest. His legs trembled. He held Laura tight, forehead pressed to hers. "You heard him. He said—" Laura nodded, sobbing. "Alive. Dan. She's alive. She's—" Silas waited, patient, silent, letting hope grow back inside them like fire. Ranger sat beside him, alert but calm, as if this moment mattered. Finally, Daniel wiped his face and stood, still holding Laura upright. "Okay, if you know she's alive, then tell us where she is. Tell us how to find her." Silas's eyes softened with something close to pity. "I will, but you need to understand who's with her." Laura gripped Daniel's jacket. "Who? Who has her? Is she hurt?" "No." Silas shook his head. "She's safe." "Safe with who?" Daniel demanded. Silas scanned the trees, like checking whether the forest was listening. "She's with the guardians," he said quietly. Daniel blinked. "The what?" Silas faced them fully. "The guardians of Dead Pine." Laura recoiled. "Silas, please don't talk in riddles. My daughter is out here. Tell us what that means." Silas sighed, deep, worn. Dead Pine isn't just a forest. It was never just trees. There are things that protect it. Things older than the town. Older than any of us. Daniel shook his head. "Silas, stop. We don't care about folklore. Just tell us who has her." "This isn't folklore," Silas said. "My family has known for generations. We've worked with them." "The guardians?" Laura whispered. Silas nodded. "They found Emma. They're watching her. protecting her until you get to her. Laura sobbed again, hands shaking. She's not alone out here? Someone's taking care of her? Yes. Daniel stepped closer. If they're protecting her, why didn't they bring her home? Silas looked away a moment. Because dead pine doesn't work like that. It chooses. It tests. It leads on its own terms. Daniel's voice cracked. Then lead us. Please. Silas nodded once. I will. But the path is changing. The forest knows you're here now. Ranger barked, short, sharp, then looked toward a narrow trail between two massive pines. Silas turned toward it. Follow me. Stay close. And don't speak unless I tell you. Laura stood, legs shaking. But her determination was louder than her fear. Silas, thank you for finding her, for helping her, for... Silas shook his head softly. Don't thank me yet. We're not out of the woods. He stepped into the trail. Ranger followed. Laura squeezed Daniel's hand. Let's go get our baby. And together, they walked into the dark, breathing heart of dead pine. If you were in their shoes, what would you do? Follow Silas without hesitation? Demand proof first? Turn back because it feels too supernatural? Or something else entirely? I'm curious, and the thing is, once they started following Silas into the deeper part of Dead Pine, it didn't feel like walking anymore. It felt like being pulled, like every tree, every shadow, every cold breath of wind was nudging them towards something waiting up ahead. Ranger stayed glued to Silas's side, glancing back at Laura and Daniel every few seconds, like he was checking whether they were about to fall apart. Honestly, they kind of were. Laura's hands wouldn't stop shaking. Daniel's breaths came in short, uneven gasps he kept trying and failing to hide. Hope hurts when you've gone too long without it. They walked maybe 10 minutes, maybe 20. Time felt strange out there. Until the forest did something weird. It opened. Just a little. Just enough. A small grove revealed itself between two cedar trunks, so subtle they would have missed it if Silas hadn't stopped first. We're here, he whispered. Laura didn't wait. She moved past him, almost stumbling, into the clearing. There was a tent, canvas, stitched by hand, glowing faintly from a warm light inside. Smoke curled from a ring of stones. A fire someone had built hours ago, now resting in quiet embers. And inside the tent, Laura froze. Her whole world froze. Daniel, she choked. Oh my God. Daniel. He rushed up behind her, chest heaving, and then he saw it too. A tiny figure curled beneath a wool blanket. Small hands, dirty face, hair tangled with pine needles, cheeks streaked with dried tears. Breathing. Soft. Steady Emma. Laura didn't walk. She collapsed into the tent, falling to her knees beside her daughter. The blanket slipped as she gathered Emma into her arms with this trembling, desperate force, like she feared Emma might vanish if she didn't hold tight enough. "Emma, baby, oh God, Emma, Emma." Her voice didn't sound like hers anymore. It sounded like someone who clawed their way through hell and finally found the one thing keeping them alive. Emma blinked, groggy, confused. "Mom," she whispered. Laura broke. Right there. In the dirt. In the warmth. Under the canvas roof that suddenly felt like the holiest place on earth. She sobbed so hard she couldn't breathe, rocking Emma against her chest. "I'm here. I'm here. I'm right here, baby. I'm so sorry." Emma wrapped small arms around her neck, weak but real. "Mommy, I was so cold." Laura let out a sound, half scream, half sob, half apology, that tore straight from her soul. "I know, sweetheart. I know. I'm here now. I'm here." Daniel stood, frozen for 2 full seconds before his legs gave out. He dropped beside them, pulling both his girls into his arms with a force he couldn't control. "Emma, baby, oh God." He buried his face in her hair, sobbing into every braid, every curl, every piece of proof that she was alive. I thought we lost you." Emma blinked up at him. "Daddy, you're crying." He laughed through the tears, helplessly overwhelmed. "Yeah, kiddo, yeah, I am." Laura pressed kisses across Emma's forehead, cheeks, hairline, fast, frantic, like she needed to make up for every minute her daughter had been alone. Her hands wouldn't stop moving, brushing dirt from her face, touching her hair, checking her arms, pulling her closer. "Are you hurt? Are you... Did something..." She could barely form words. Emma shook her head. "No, I just got really cold and scared." Those words hit Daniel like a punch to the spine. He slapped a hand over his mouth, trying, failing, not to break again. Silas stayed outside the tent, giving them space. Ranger sat beside him, ears lowered out of respect. After a minute, or maybe 10, Laura finally looked at Daniel. Her face was red, swollen, exhausted, but alive. "She's okay, Dan. She's okay." Daniel nodded, pressing his forehead to Emma's tiny shoulder. "Yeah, she is. She really is." Emma curled between them, her breathing slowing. "Are we going home now?" Laura clutched her tighter. "Yes. Yes, baby. Right now. I'm never letting you out of my sight again." Daniel let out a shaky laugh. "We're gonna carry you the whole way if we have to." Emma smiled. Just a tiny one, and it made Laura cry all over again. Silas stepped into the doorway. "She can travel," he said gently, "but slowly. She needs warmth, water, rest, and she needs both of you." Laura nodded, still holding Emma. "She has us. She'll always have us." Ranger let out a soft, approving huff. Daniel looked at Silas. Thank you, God. Thank you. Silas didn't smile, but something softened in his eyes. The Guardians kept her safe, he said. I just followed their lead. Laura wiped her face again, voice trembling. I don't care who did it. Thank you anyway. They stayed like that. Parents wrapped around their child, the grove silent, the air warm, the forest watching, alive, together, finally breathing. And for a moment, maybe the first real moment since Emma vanished, the world inside that little grove felt quiet in the right way. Warm, safe, like everything terrifying outside the tent couldn't get in. But that didn't last. Because once Emma's breathing steadied and she curled deeper into Laura's arms, Silas knelt near the tent opening and asked gently, Emma, can you tell us what happened? Only what you remember, nothing more. Laura stiffened, holding her daughter tight. Silas, she doesn't need to relive. But Emma shook her head. It's okay, Mommy. I want to tell you. Daniel nodded softly. It's all right, sweetheart. Just go slow. Emma swallowed, hands clutching the wool blanket. I slipped. Down a hill. Far. I couldn't climb back up. Laura's chest caved in. Oh, baby. And it got dark, Emma whispered. Really dark. The kind that kinda sticks to your skin. Silas didn't interrupt. He just listened, with that strange, grave stillness of his. Emma continued. I cried. A lot. But then someone came. Laura froze. Daniel's breath hitched. Someone, Laura whispered. No, Emma said softly. Not someone. She hesitated. Then, a dog. Ranger lifted his head, curious. But Emma shook hers. Not him, the other one. Silas's eyes sharpened instantly. Describe it. Emma blinked, thinking. Big. Really big. Way bigger than Ranger. Ranger let out a small grunt, almost offended. And it was black, Emma said. Not dog black, more like when you close your eyes, and it's so dark you can't tell where anything starts. Laura tightened her arms around her. Honey, did it growl? Did it scare you? Emma shook her head. No, it didn't make any noise at all. Daniel frowned. At all? No. Not even when it walked. I didn't hear its feet. It was just there. That sentence landed heavy. Emma curled closer into Laura's chest. And its eyes, they glowed a little, like two baby moons. Laura's body went cold. Moons? Emma nodded. Yeah. Not bright, just soft. Silas inhaled sharply, a small, clipped breath. Laura noticed. Silas, what is it? He didn't answer right away. He stared at the tent flap, the ground, the trees, like he was checking whether the forest was listening. Then finally, that wasn't a dog. Daniel blinked. Come on, Silas. She's a kid. She was scared. Maybe she... No, Silas said, calm but firm. Emma knows what a dog is, and what she's describing isn't one. Laura's voice shook. Then what was with her? Silas lifted his gaze toward the treetops. His voice dropped lower. Something that doesn't walk among us. Something that doesn't live where we live. Daniel's breath snapped. Are you telling me some creature was watching my daughter? Emma pressed into Laura harder. He didn't hurt me. He stayed with me all the nights. He kept looking at the trees, like he was waiting for something. Silas closed his eyes, jaw tight. He was guarding you. Daniel's voice trembled. Why? Silas looked at them fully, and something in his eyes felt ancient. Because it belongs to dead pine. Silence. Real silence. Laura whispered, belongs to the forest? Silas nodded. There are guardians you've seen, like Ranger, but there are others, older, rarer, things that only appear when the forest chooses. Laura shook her head, panic rising. No, Emma was alone and scared. She probably imagined. But Emma tugged at her sleeve. Mommy, I'm not making it up. Her tiny voice quivered, but it carried a truth too heavy for a child to hold. He laid next to me so I wouldn't hear the dark. Laura's breath shattered. Hearing your child say that, it crawls under your ribs and refuses to let go. Daniel turned to Silas. So what? Dead Pine sent something to protect her? Silas didn't answer immediately. When he did, his voice was low, careful. It didn't just protect her. He paused. It chose her. Laura jerked back like she'd been slapped. No, you don't say that. Don't you dare say the forest chose my daughter. But Emma whispered, Mommy, I felt it. Laura froze. Felt what, sweetheart? That something wanted me to stay awake, and then it wanted me to sleep, and then it wanted me to follow. Her small voice broke. But I didn't. I stayed still, because he stayed still. Ranger whined softly, uncertain, uneasy. Silas rubbed the bridge of his nose. I was afraid of this. Daniel snapped. Afraid of what? Silas looked at them with a weight older than anything in the grove. That the forest took an interest in her, and once Dead Pine chooses someone, it doesn't forget. Laura pulled Emma fully into her lap. Silas, stop. She's a child. She didn't ask for this. I know, Silas whispered. But the other hound doesn't appear for no reason. Daniel stiffened. The what? Silas met their eyes, and the truth in his expression was worse than the words themselves. The other hound appears only for the marked. Daniel's voice cracked. Marked by what? Silas exhaled, slow, heavy, by dead pine itself. And honestly, after hearing Silas say dead pine had chosen Emma, the grove didn't feel safe anymore. Not really. Not the way it felt 10 minutes ago when they were just parents holding their little girl. Now everything, every tree, every breath of wind, felt like it was watching them, like the whole forest was waiting. Silas stood and nodded toward the path. We need to move. The forest won't hold this place open for long. Daniel picked Emma up, arms wrapped around her like a shield. Laura stayed glued to his side, one hand gripping his jacket, the other cupping Emma's cheek. They stepped out of the grove, and the forest changed. Not loud, not dramatic. It shifted, quietly, smoothly. The trees, hundreds of pines, subtly eased apart, creating a narrow passageway. Not wide, not obvious, but unmistakable. Like dead pine was opening a hallway just for them. Laura gasped. Dan, did you see that? Daniel swallowed hard. Yeah, I saw it. Trying to pretend I didn't, but yeah. Silas didn't flinch. Keep walking. Don't stop. They did. But the deeper they went, the stranger it felt. Because every time Emma shifted in Daniel's arms, the moonlight moved with her. Not overhead, not natural. It followed her. A soft silver glow drifted along the path, landing exactly where her feet would have touched if she were walking. Step for step. Like the moon itself was clearing a path for her. Laura stared, terrified. Why is the moon following her? Silas, what is that? Silas exhaled. The forest recognizes her presence. That doesn't answer anything, Daniel muttered. Why her? Why my daughter? Silas's voice stayed calm. Because she is one of the marked. Laura nearly tripped. Stop saying that like it's normal. She's 7. She didn't ask for any of this. I know, Silas said softly. And I'm not saying it lightly. As they walked, something else began happening. The ground cooperated. Roots that should have tripped them pulled back into the soil. Jagged rocks flattened right before Daniel stepped over them. Even the underbrush pressed outward, creating a clean path that hadn't existed seconds earlier. It felt like walking inside a living creature that was adjusting itself to make room. Daniel's skin crawled. No, that's not normal. I don't care what folklore you know, Silas. That's not something I'm just gonna accept. Silas kept his tone steady. Dead pine is aware of her, and when it chooses someone, the wilderness rearranges itself. Laura's voice cracked. But why her? She didn't do anything. She didn't call this. She didn't want this. Silas hesitated, and that silence was worse than any answer. Finally he said, sometimes the forest chooses by bloodline, sometimes by chance, and sometimes because of what it senses in a person. Daniel snapped. In a kid? What could it possibly sense in a kid? Silas didn't get to answer. because the pathway ahead of them shifted again, not subtly. A ripple moved through the pines like a wave, trunks bending outward, branches sweeping aside with a deep wooden moan, opening a new path that cut sharply to the right. Emma, half asleep in Daniel's arms, whispered, "Daddy, it's showing us where to go." Daniel froze. "Emma, sweetheart, how do you know that?" Emma rested her head on his shoulder. "I just feel it." Laura's voice trembled. "Feel what, baby?" Emma blinked slowly. "It's like the trees want to take us home." The words were soft, innocent, but they made the adults stop breathing. Daniel turned to Silas. "Okay, this marked thing, what does it mean, plain English? No riddles." Silas finally faced them, his expression pale in the drifting moonlight. "It means the forest sees her. It knows her. It claims her as part of its story." Laura clapped a hand over her mouth. "No, no, no, no. She's not part of any forest. She's a child. My child." "I know," Silas whispered. Daniel stepped forward, angry, desperate. "So what? The forest wants to keep her? Is that what you're saying?" Silas shook his head hard. "No. If it wanted to keep her, she wouldn't be here now. The other hound wouldn't have protected her. Ranger wouldn't have been allowed to lead you." "Then what does it want?" Daniel demanded. Silas opened his mouth, but the forest moved. A deep groan rolled through the trees. The ground vibrated. Branches rustled though no wind stirred them. Silas's eyes widened. "It's shifting again." Laura held Emma tighter. "Why? Why now?" Silas's voice dropped to a whisper. "Because Deadpine heard your question." Daniel swallowed. "Which question?" Silas looked straight at him. "The one you just asked. What does it want?" The trees bent further. The moonlight narrowed to a glowing beam pointing deeper into the dark. Silas swallowed hard. "It's inviting us to find the answer." And honestly, after the forest shifted like it was answering Daniel's question, none of them spoke. What do you even say when the wilderness moves because it heard you? When the moonlight bends itself around a 7-year-old like she's royalty or sacrifice? So they followed Silas, followed the moon path, followed the quiet, until the trees opened again. Not like before. This time it felt ceremonial, sacred. Like they were walking into a room where something important was about to happen. The clearing was small, just enough space for the moon to pour straight down. The light fell in a perfect circle, soft and silver, on the forest floor. Silas stopped at the edge. Ranger walked forward first, not trotting, not sniffing, no bounce, no nervous twitch, no. He walked like a soldier entering the tent of his commanding officer, spine straight, head high, chest proud. Still as stone once he reached the center of the moonlit circle. Daniel whispered, "What's he doing?" Silas didn't answer. He didn't need to. Because then, The darkness behind the trees thickened, like the shadows inhaled. The fog pulled back. The pines bowed inward. The air dropped 10 degrees so fast, Laura gasped. Something was coming. Laura clutched Emma tighter. Silas. Silas. Is it? Yes, Silas breathed. Don't run. Don't scream. Just let it happen. Daniel stepped in front of Laura, instinct roaring through his body. Let happen. A shape formed, huge, silent, black beyond black, like it swallowed the moonlight. The hollow hound. The creature Emma had described. It slipped between the trees without a sound, not even the whisper of paws on needles. Its body moved like smoke wearing the shape of muscle, tall enough to look Ranger directly in the eyes. Twice his mass, twice his presence, and its eyes. God, those eyes. Two soft crescents of pale silver glow, not bright, just aware. Laura trembled. Daniel, I see it, he whispered. Oh my God, I see it. Emma lifted her head, her cheek pressed against her mother's shoulder. That's him, she whispered. Ranger didn't bark, didn't whine, didn't bow. He simply stood there, equal, steady, unafraid. Like he and the hollow hound understood each other in a way no human ever could. The hollow hound stepped forward, one soundless step, then another, wrong and right at the same time. Silas placed a hand on Daniel's shoulder. Don't move. Don't speak. Daniel froze mid-breath. The hollow hound reached the moonlit circle and stopped. For a moment, nothing. Just two guardians. Light and dark, flesh and shadow, studying each other. Then, the hollow hound lowered its head, slowly, elegantly, not greeting, not begging, not demanding. A bow, Laura's breath cracked. Is it saying goodbye? Silas nodded once. Yes. Emma whispered. He stayed with me, so I wouldn't be scared. Laura's tears spilled instantly. Oh, sweetheart. And now, Silas said softly, he's giving you back. The hollow hound held its bow for one long heartbeat, then lifted its head, turned toward the trees, and stepped backward into the dark. And the darkness swallowed him whole. No sound, no shape, just gone. Ranger remained still for another breath. Then he turned his head toward Silas, toward Emma, toward the moonlit clearing, and he bowed too. Not as deep, not as solemn, but enough to say, she's safe now. My job is done. Before anyone could reach for him, before Emma could whisper thank you, Ranger turned and walked toward the trees. His paws made sound, but the forest muted them instantly. He didn't look back. didn't hesitate. He simply walked into the shadows, and the shadows accepted him. One blink, and both guardians were gone. Only the moon remained, shining over the clearing. And then, Dead Pine exhaled. A long, low, gentle breath of wind moving through the pines like a blessing. Like relief, like closing a chapter in a story far older than any of them. Laura cried into Emma's hair. Daniel wrapped around them both. Silas lowered his head in something like prayer. The forest felt satisfied, peaceful, whole. The guardians had delivered their charge and released her. Dead Pine had spoken its farewell, and after watching the guardians fade into the trees like they were made of moonlight and breath, the world didn't snap back to normal. It couldn't. You don't witness something like that and just walk home like you came back from a grocery run. But Dead Pine seemed ready for this part. It shifted again. Not violently, not like before, but softly. Like it understood this moment needed gentleness. A narrow pathway opened ahead, branches lifting, needles whispering against each other, as if clearing the air specifically for them. Silas nodded. That's the way out. Daniel adjusted Emma in his arms, kissing her hair. We're almost home, sweetheart. Laura brushed her fingers through Emma's tangled strands, still staring at the forest like she didn't trust it, but also, somehow, like she was grateful. Let's just go, she whispered, before it changes its mind. So they walked. And the strangest thing? The deeper they followed the moonlit path, the warmer the air became, like the forest was giving them back the heat it stole earlier. Emma made a tiny sound, half sigh, half relief, and laid her head on Daniel's shoulder. Daddy, it doesn't feel scary now. Daniel swallowed hard. Yeah, baby. I feel that too. The corridor of trees narrowed, just enough to make Daniel tense. But then it opened again. Wide, clear, soft grass underfoot. And then, there it was. Their backyard. The fence, the porch, the little swing Emma used to fall asleep on during warm summer nights. They were standing just a few steps from home. Laura froze, hand over her mouth. Dan. Oh my God. We're right here. The forest brought us. It literally. She didn't finish. Her knees buckled. But this time she didn't fall from fear. She fell from release. From relief so heavy it broke her straight down to the dirt. She sank to the ground as Daniel knelt beside her, Emma still wrapped in his arms. Laura pulled them both in, sobbing so hard she could barely breathe. Emma clung to her parents like they were the only warm things left in the universe. I thought I lost you, Laura choked. I thought, God, I thought I lost you forever. Emma whispered, I'm here, Mommy. I'm here. Those 3 words sent Daniel over the edge. His breath shattered. He pulled both of them in tighter, burying his face into their hair. I'm never letting go, he whispered. Not ever again. I swear to God, not ever. Behind them, the forest rustled softly. Just once. Like it was exhaling. Like it was satisfied. Silas approached, Ranger at his side. The dog's tail lowered in something like reverence. You made it back, Silas said gently. Daniel wiped his face. We wouldn't have without you. Without all of this. Silas nodded. Dead pine gives what it chooses to give, and it took care of her. Laura looked up, tears streaking her face. Why? Why her? Silas's expression softened, but not in a comforting way. Dead pine never forgets the ones it touches. A chill cut the air, fast, sharp. Daniel rose slowly, Emma still in his arms. What does that mean? Silas didn't answer directly. Maybe he couldn't. He just looked at Emma, then at the forest, then back at them. Take her inside. Warm her. Keep her close tonight. Laura nodded shakily. Silas, will we see you again? He gave a tired, small smile. If Dead Pine wants me to. If not, you'll be okay. Then Ranger stepped forward. He walked to Emma and touched his nose gently to her hand. One soft goodbye. Emma smiled. Thank you for finding me. Ranger blinked once, slow, meaningful, then turned and walked into the trees. Silas followed. Neither looked back. The shadows swallowed them in seconds, like the forest had been waiting to take them home. Laura stared after them, heart trembling. Just like that. They're gone. Daniel wrapped an arm around her shoulders. Let's get her inside. We're safe now. But before they could move, Emma lifted her head off Daniel's shoulder. She stared at the tree line. Quiet. Still. Listening to something only she could hear. Then she whispered, Mom, the forest still knows my name. Laura froze. Sweetheart, why do you say that? Emma blinked softly. Because it said goodbye. Daniel and Laura stared at each other. Fear, wonder, love, confusion, all tangled together. Somewhere deep inside Dead Pine, a single gust of wind drifted through the pines. Soft, gentle, almost like a reply.